Okay, I think we're going to start. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Everybody who's in the hall, if you want to come on in, we're just going to go ahead and start. We're going to do this for about 90 minutes. Okay, we have the live stream there. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming on. Please don't be shy. Have a seat. I wanted to introduce myself and orient everybody. So just to make sure that you're in the right place, this is our Glendale Issues Town Hall, where we have people who are from Glendale, who, like me, are not terribly happy with what is going on. And we are here for a couple of reasons. Number one, to meet neighbors, just like you, who share the same worries, the same concerns as you, just so you know that you are not alone. And then number two, to have actionable items so that we are not simply spinning our wheels. Okay, we actually say, this is my problem. This is the solution we propose. This is how we're going to get it done. Because Lord knows that at least in the last 4 years, our problems and our worries and our concerns have fallen on deaf ears. So I am Alex Balekian. I'm a physician. I'm a lung cancer researcher. I'm born and raised in Glendale. I'm a proud product of Glendale Public Schools. I'm a practicing physician, but I am upset at what has become of my hometown. And I can no longer stand by and allow others who we assumed were going to govern in our best interests. I can no longer stand by and let them run this city into the ground. So that's why I am here, and I'm going to ask people to, let us know what your concerns or your worries are. But generally speaking, the people's concerns I found talking to people fall into one of the 4 C's: cost of living, congestion, crime, and communication. Okay, so those are the 4 shortcomings of our city council, and I encourage, if somebody has, I see some familiar faces. Mr. Mohel. What I'm most looking forward to, Mr. Mohel, by getting elected?
Mr. Balekian.
Yes, what I'm most looking forward. It's okay. What I'm most looking forward to once I get elected is being on the receiving end of a Mohel. And not in a good way.
With the cartoon?
Yes, with a cartoon. So I therefore I know that I will have arrived.
Yes.
Buy some Kevlar.
Yeah, buy some Kevlar, yes. So anybody want to start? Anybody want to raise your hands? What is it that you worry about? What is that concerns you? Actually, Mohel, you went first yesterday, so I'm going to give it to Jim Person. So Jim is actually a neighbor of mine. We both live in Brocklands.
Okay, sure.
So it's not a mystery that the current troika on city council wants to sell or lease our parking lots to build large-scale apartment complexes under the guise of, we need the money because the city's running at a deficit. And I would like to know what your proposal would be to, without doing that, which I think is a farce. How are we going to bring the city of Glendale's finances in line with common sense?
Okay, so the question was, right now, how do we bring the city's finances into common sense? And also, why is the city so hell-bent on turning our city-owned parking lots into dense apartment buildings? So on the one hand, there is our housing assessment, okay, what we as a city are required to build based on state law. Every 8 years, there's a housing cycle. There's what's called a regional housing needs assessment, and then the local coalition of governments then assigns us how many units that we need to build. Those units have already been planned for and built. We do not need any more housing units for this particular cycle. There is not a state requirement for us to build more housing than we have already planned for. So why is the city hell-bent on taking parking lots that small businesses depend on and then rezoning them to allow their developer friends to build more? Why? Because they need, as if I quote Mayor Satri and Councilmember Satri and also Councilmember Brockman, we need more sources of revenue. Okay? We have drunken sailors on our city council that are spending. These are like 16-year-old children with credit cards. We need to snap that credit card right in half, okay? So what we need to do is they have overspent by $34 million. Now, there's roughly about $350 million in fixed costs. When I say fixed costs, personnel, pensions, et cetera, right? Firefighters, police, et cetera. But then there's a whole heck of a lot of money that is being spent on unnecessary vanity projects. For example, several $1 million on a bike lane in the middle of the Verdugo Wash. $1.2 million to install and then remove the disastrous North Grand bike lanes that we saw, okay? So when I run my own household, and I think our city would be better if we ran it like our own household, on a budget, with priorities, okay? So what are priorities? Number one, public safety. Number two, efficient and reliable infrastructure, okay? So let's bolster our police force to catch those speeding drivers. Let's bolster our fire and EMS so that if there's an emergency, you fall at home, you're having a heart attack, it doesn't take them an exorbitant amount of time to get to you, okay? Let's make sure that basic electricity works so that 7,000 people don't lose power on Christmas Eve when there's a hard rain, okay? Reliable, efficient infrastructure, and then you do your priorities. And then if you have money left over for the bells and whistles, great, okay? But right now, people are focusing on bells and whistles. That is why we're in a $34 million deficit. And that is why they're looking to change the parking lots. I say, same as the president of Argentina, take a chainsaw to the budget. Let's cut out all of those vanity projects that don't help people. Let's focus on our priorities, make those priorities transparent. Everybody agrees, public safety, efficient infrastructure, and then kind of go with the low priority stuff, and then that's how you run a city, not into the ground.
Good point. All of those things you're talking about, those vanity projects, benefit somebody.
Right.
And every time you go to take one of those away because it's wasteful or stupid, you get a bunch of people standing up saying, you can't take that away from me, you voted for it last time. And it's very difficult to do what you're talking about, even if you had a majority on the council. Because you'd have to put up with a lot of heat from all the people whose vanity projects have been taken away from them.
You would have to put up with a lot of heat. So one of the themes that is coming up with this election is no incumbents, no more incumbents, right? So there are two other candidates here sitting over here. Patrick Murphy, you can raise your hand in the back. Beth Brooks, you can raise your hand in the middle there. Beth, raise your hand high so people see who you are. I encourage you to talk to Patrick and Beth because there are 3 seats up for grabs, right? I'm running for 1. I will be only 1 vote among 5. I need 3 seats if I want to make any of these changes, okay? So I encourage you to look at other like-minded individuals, but I also say no more incumbents. I don't have any loyalty or fealty to any donors, right? Neither does Beth, neither does Patrick. We're non-political people versus the people who are there. I mean, I wish I had my computer so I could show on a screen. Dan Brockman, in his 2020 candidate video, said, I will never take money from corporate PACs or real estate developers. I will never take money from fossil fuel companies or real estate developers. In 2022, he said, I will never take money from fossil fuel companies. Stop. Okay? He miraculously got more donations from real estate developers. He named the son of one of those real estate developers to the planning commission. Right? So there are just obvious evidence of grift that we need to stop.
He's a congenital liar.
Yeah,
That's it.
he is.
I'm gonna lower your electric rates. I'm gonna show you how to do that.
Correct.
I'll show you how to fix Grayson.
So
You
just as,
idiotically bought that.
I forgot what I was saying, but so Beth Brooks mentioned this, and I totally agree with it. So I said I'm a lung cancer researcher. I do comparative effectiveness or cost effectiveness research. And in cost effectiveness research, we say, if I'm going to have this new surgery, this new chemotherapy, this new treatment, that's supposedly going to be better than the existing one, how much more am I going to pay for it? How many more lives can I save? And then you come up with this ratio, where if I do more, will I get more? And I think that every single city contract, anything that we do with the city, should have these explicit, transparent calculations, where we say how much money is going into this, how many Glendale residents do we expect it to help? And then that way you can actually have a number where you can say, okay, I'm going to compare your pet project to your pet project. Let's see whose pet project is objectively better. So I think something like that would be great, but again, I need 3 people on council to make it happen. Question, I'll hand the microphone.
How do they choose who's going to audit these? Last night, I really went to the meeting with Patrick, it was wonderful. And he said in a 3-year period, 92 city contracts, only 3 were audited. That's amazing. So how does the city choose who is the auditor? We don't elect them, do we?
They're appointed.
Oh, okay, so.
So you say that it's amazing that only 3 contracts were renewed in 3 years. I find it appalling. So I'll give you an example. So yes, there's an audit commission, which is supposed to audit. Now, Patrick said yesterday, every commission meets monthly, but this one, for some reason, meets quarterly. The Women's Commission used to meet quarterly, and at the behest of Councilwoman Eleanor Santry, it started meeting monthly. So if council wants it, council will get it done.
They can do it.
But when council knows that there's somebody lifting the rocks up and checking the maggots of what they're doing, of course they're not going to be interested in doing that, all right? So again, you need objective people who are not tied to special interests, who are going to do that and are just gonna look, turn over those logs.
Day one, will you have your audit people already in mind?
So, yeah, correct. So there's a gentleman, his name is Herbert Milano. He has an encyclopedic knowledge because he has time. He's retired, and he is a retired accountant, so he just does these things. So I think I would, once we're in council and we have access to the books, I would love to, from day one, give access to people. My favorite period of U.S. history was the turn of the last century, right around 1900. My favorite president, Teddy Roosevelt, was there as a trust buster. And you had the muckrakers, who were these investigative journalists who were just unearthing all the stuff those big corporations, big oil, right, were doing. So we just need muckrakers to go inside Glendale City and shed the light of day on these things. Yes, Mr. Noble, you've been uncharacteristically quiet.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question that I've asked every council candidate since 2011.
Okay.
You ever heard of the thing called the town center? Now known as the Americana at Grand? Did you know that Glendale taxpayers bought the land for the Americana? And then we gave the land to Mr. Caruso for him to go out and raise money to build his Americana at Grand.
Really?
Yes, we do.
Other places that he did his town center, they leased the land to him. So if he walks away from the Americana, he still owns the land, not Glendale taxpayers. Now, that's one. Number two, we were told that Glendale taxpayers were gonna make money on the Americana grant. Now, if you and I made money, would you tell the whole world that you made money on the deal, or you be kind of quiet on it? Well, Mr. Caruso did this way, and the city council did this way also. I've asked, Paul Devine, all of them. Once on council, we have an independent audit and let the people of Glendale know how much money we're making or not making and why not. My question to you, Mr. Council candidate, will you open the books and let us know?
Thank you, Mr. Mehul. So people on the live stream who didn't hear, so essentially we've had a bad business deal with the Americana, and will we go back and audit things? So the short answer is yes. So when our council members, they say we need more sources of revenue, I would like to go see what are the existing sources of revenue. Are we appropriately getting what is due to us? And can we avoid saddling the average Glendale residents and also the small business owner with further taxes, fees, etc. Okay? I will give you another example, not just the Americana, because Caruso is a wheeler and dealer. Okay? Do you know how Caruso got his start? Very interesting. So Caruso bought parking lots, and then he rented them to a car rental company, Dollar Rent-A-Car. And so these parking lots were very attractive. And he was able to sell the parking lots because, hey, look, you got somebody who's leasing them. Turns out Dollar Rent-A-Car was run by his father, Daddy Caruso. So he bought the parking lots. His father leased it, made it look artificially productive, and then he was able to sell it for profits. Classic bait and switch. Hold on. So there's another business deal. So there are the I think it's called Loma Vista Apartments in Glendale. Okay. So Glendale made a deal against affordable housing they built with a developer. So then they essentially financed it. There was a deal where there was a part where they sued the developer for bilking them out of, I think, $18 million total. Okay. So for the sake of building affordable housing, they made this deal with this developer. The developer gave them very favorable terms so they could do it. Not only did the developer bilk them, but then essentially they gave the bank first lien. And so the person running the apartments says, this is no longer profitable for us, and stopped making payments to the bank. And then the bank was going to foreclose on land that Glendale gave to the developer. And then the developer got a loan, and the bank was first lien. So Glendale was about to lose a parcel of land that was theirs. And then they put $400,000 to bail it out. Mind you, $200,000 was for deferred maintenance. For 2 or 3 years, this management company was not making any improvements, any repairs to the house. It was a slump. So there are many bad deals that Glendale has done. I don't know why they've done them, but we need to look at all of them. And if to the Americana, I was speaking to a small business owner who had a booth at the Americana during all the closures of COVID, right? The gallery was closed. The Americana, because it's open air, was open. And they had these small booths that they could get. And the Americana was very happy to bring in people because all the stores, Cartier, Tiffany, all those big ticket stores were closed. And then, so he made his money renting these little booths to them. And then when the store started opening up, he's like, we're gonna take these booths away. I don't need them anymore. And they said, but we built a business on this for the last 2 years. He said, tough. So he exploited local small businesses to stay afloat and then just kicked them to the door when it no longer suited him. So I will look at that contract, not to be punitive, okay, but for fair, to be fair. to be proportionate, right? He should pay his fair share, same as the other small businesses are doing. So that is what I would do. Okay?
Okay.
Yes, Ruby.
So I want to say two things. Down here right now. I can't talk about.
The people that comes in here.
What I want to say about the Americana, we're losing money. Okay, we're losing on the bond, we're paying interest on the bond. We spent over $90 million to buy that building. The middle where the park is owned by us. He has businesses, he's not paying taxes on that. Okay, it's owned by us, it's not a real park anymore. So we're losing over $4 million just on the interest on the bond. We haven't made a penny since that place fell over. I know that for a fact, and you can double verify me with John Council. So that's one I want to share with you. And three candidates, when they ran, they promised they were agendize the Americana finances, and they checked out. One of the biggest one that was fought against the Americana was Reg. As soon as he got elected, he got corrupt. He never had the balls to put the agenda of the American finances. My question to you is, we got those radical bills that comes from Sacramento, SB 9, SB 10, SB 79. There are some cities are willing to fight. They fought on SB 9, SB 10, as you know. And I know for a fact, SB 79, some cities in Orange County, they're fighting. If you get elected, are you willing to fight all those bills, including any bill that comes out from Sacramento that is not rational? Just join our city, we belong to a bunch of legal cities, what do you call that, scabs and so forth. Fight Sacramento, you should fight Sacramento all the time. So that's my question.
And I will ask you, Ruby, to keep the language PG, because I said that this webcam was safe for minors. Okay? He didn't have the guts to say this. That's it. He didn't have the guts. All right. So as far as, so the question was, will you stand up to these laws? Essentially overreach from Sacramento. I grew up, I was born in 1979, born and raised in Glendale. I grew up in a Duke-Majan household, okay? George Duke-Majan was our governor, right? It was all about local control, balanced budgets, safe streets, right? So keep the streets safe and clean, stay out of my bank account, stay out of my home. That's what it was. So I'm all about local control. We are an incorporated city. We have purview over what we do. The most famous example of a city standing up to Sacramento and getting squashed was La Cañada, right? So they tried to stand up. I think Huntington Beach may have also tried to do it. Downey also did. But there was just kind of here and there. Now, things change, right? You have LA City, the majority of whom, the council, voted to oppose SB 79, okay? So the tides are turning. So yes, I would love to stand up to any overreach, government overreach, that limits our local control. However, we have to be strategic about it. When I say we have to be strategic about it, again, I am very evidence-based. So I do database research. I take large amounts of data and I find trends in them. I'm a trained biostatistician. One thing that I think we can easily do is look at our emergency response times, because if we're making bicycle lanes, for example, that are going to congest our streets, if we're making, very dense apartment housing where somebody can't get through because there's too many cars or too many things parked on the road, we should look at our emergency response times, because number one, public safety, and if we find that Glendale is even 2% below average for LA County, for example, as far as emergency response times, do not pass go, do not collect $200. That is what we use to oppose things like SB 79, okay? So yes, we want to oppose it, but we have to have a strategy. We have to have numbers. And what I find often is that our city council is like a bunch of mediocre high school students who haven't done their pre-reading. They don't know the reports that the city staff have done. They don't know the numbers, right? But a great example I'll give you is this Sears development. 3 years ago, they met with the developers. Oh, this looks great, yay. And then when it's now phase 2, and a lot of money has already been spent And then people say, hang on a minute, what is this monstrosity that they're putting here in the old Sears building? They inappropriately stopped it in its tracks, right? When I say inappropriately, imagine if you're this developer, you go through this entire song and dance, get all these reports, all these consults, everything done. It's now phase 2, not just phase 1, phase 2. And the city says no, and they're suing us, okay? What were they doing the last 3 years? Why were you not, if this is arguably like an 800, almost 1,000 unit housing project, why were you not looking at the progress of it? Why were you asleep at the wheel? Okay, I can tell you Elena Sachin's not asleep. She has an Instagram post every other day. She is not asleep at all, okay? So I think it's fine to say, it's fair to say we're gonna oppose it, but really we need to be doing our homework. We need somebody who is on those numbers, on all the data like a hawk, and says, we are gonna oppose this government overreach because ABC. But if we don't have our evidence collected and ready to show, simply standing up against it is not gonna be effective.
Thank you, but I'll talk to you offline again, I see you looking at it.
I can never escape Ruby. Okay, yes, Matt Brooks.
Yeah, just to, address his point. Legally, there's pretty much nothing we can do because, a city is an entity that really has to follow the rules of the state. We're just an extension of the state. And all the lawsuits haven't really worked. So we have to be strategic and think like a lawyer. What are the loopholes? And the way you find the loopholes is you follow the developers. And you follow to see what they're salivating about. They know what the loopholes are, and they're discussing those loopholes. They can't do this to us unless we do X, Y, and Z. And there are things we can do to thwart this development and to make it smaller, less dense. And that includes what Alex was saying. Before the planning application is even completed, you have to say that this is potentially a health and safety issue. The Glendale Garden Homes, that should have never happened. That was so easy to stop. And what happened was Brody, the fire department never even weighed in. Our fire department never weighed in. Brody got a consultant to say everything looks kosher. Everything is fine. And they got that through. And that was so easy to stop. So there are loopholes, and that is one of them. And exactly what Alex is saying, they're doing nothing. The city council hasn't even mapped out the areas that SB 79 is going to hit. They're not doing anything. I don't know what they're doing. Well, Ellen, we know what she's doing. But they're not doing anything. We don't have a commission. We don't have a planning director who is giving them proper information. He's either asleep at the wheel or he's being told not to give them information. So there are ways to fight it, but they're really through the back door, because none of these, unless an individual sues, that's actually going to possibly be the avenue to fight these things, an individual lawsuit. Because a city suing a state, almost never, I don't know of any ways that would work, but an individual, that might happen. Thank you.
What would be some of the reasons why an individual could sue the city, like for lack of your due, and you have like that is?
Well, it could, but that there are, also the city has not put in objective design standards. All these things have to be written down that they're refusing to do, like the fire department to put out certain objective written standards that happen before the application is complete. And before the application is complete, there are no blueprints. It's all like I'm just putting my paperwork in. So it would be, this is too close to my property. This is not allowing this route to take place if there's an evacuation. There are a lot of things, and they can actually be, the problem is that the likelihood of an individual winning a lawsuit is greater when you're an individual versus a city winning a lawsuit, because you are just an extension of the state. They basically can, and especially because Newsom has declared that this is an emergency, which is not an emergency. My theory is that we have to get a proper count of vacancies, which I think are very, very high, because I think there are a lot of short-term rentals all over where I live. I live in downtown Glendale, and I see that people are not living in those places. Half of them are empty. And once you do that, the state is allowed to step all over us because they have declared an emergency, a housing emergency essentially. And that basically gives them broad powers. If you can prove legally there is no emergency, perhaps your chances of winning a lawsuit are better. You have to get the source of the power, and the source of the power is a false premise. it's an affordability crisis, it's not a housing unit crisis.
Susan.
Yeah, I just want to say as, in regard to the housing issue, one way to approach this is to look at listings, how many are listed, and also notice, I just noticed apocryphally as I drive around, there's a lot of for rent signs. So that suggests to me that there is a lot of availability. Whether or not it's affordable, again, I think that's a problem that has more to do with just market conditions, frankly. I mean, let's be honest about it. We have a terrific climate in California, and an awful lot of people want to live here. And everybody feels that they should be able to. But, you have a limited resource. And sadly, it may not be possible for everybody.
So, Alex, quickly.
Yes.
When the state mandates more housing,
Yep.
under the state constitution, the fact, I know reliable sources, they're supposed to fund, like if they, every 4 years or 8 years, they want us to build more housing, they're supposed to fund police, extra fire department, fire station, our infrastructure, our grids.
Right.
So they're bankable.
Right.
So we don't have to follow what they have to do.
So one of the avenues that current Councilor Barton Garbenton is trying to do is saying that this housing is an unfunded mandate. So just because you make housing doesn't mean you actually make it successful. So if you're increasing the number of people in a city, and if you don't hire proportionally cops, firefighters, EMS, then you fall out of ratio with what is considered safe, okay? So if you have 1 cop per 100 people versus now 1 cop per 1,000 people, suddenly by bringing in more people but not giving us the funding to hire more cops, you have now made the city unsafe. Now their suggestion is, well then why don't you just raise taxes, okay? Raise your hand if you want to pay more taxes. No. Number 2, these developments that are going up have, I would say, at least a third low income. There's low income, very low income, and so are you going to raise taxes now suddenly these low income people that you're bringing in? And then they said, well, then why don't you tax the developers who are building these buildings? Well, if I tax the developers who are building these buildings, they're going to pass that cost on to the consumer, and your affordable housing is no longer affordable. So there are little tips and tricks that are there, but I would prefer not to rely on lawsuits. So for example, SB 79, which takes effect July 1st, allows any developer to put a 4 to 9 story apartment tower within half a mile of a major transit stop. A major transit stop defined as light rail, which is the Metrolink, which goes by down at the top of Glendale. Okay. Or a dedicated bus lane. Okay, so the BRT, which is going to go from Burbank all the way to Pasadena using Glen Oaks, Central, and Broadway. Try to imagine in your mind's eye, if you live within half a mile of Glen Oaks, Central, or Broadway. Raise your hand if your neighborhood is within half a mile of Glen Oaks, Central, and Broadway. Congratulations, you will be looking at a 4 to 9 story apartment tower starting July 1st.
Yeah.
Okay? So what do I propose to you? The 5 miles of BRT, bus rapid transit, the route is passing through. I'm not opposed to a bus route passing through Glendale and allowing people to commute. I am opposed to a dedicated bus lane.
Yeah.
That route goes through, because that bus lane comes with a lot of baggage. A lot of baggage being 4 to 9 story apartment towers within half a mile, okay? So 95% of the bus route through Glendale has a dedicated bus lane. Pasadena, 2.2 miles of bus route, 0% of it is dedicated bus lane. How did Pasadena negotiate such favorable terms? They have a memorandum of understanding. Burbank has a memorandum of understanding. I have done a public records request. There is no memorandum of understanding for Glendale. So June 2nd is the election. July 2nd is the swearing in of the new people. Immediately after, I think it's July 9, I will agendize withdrawing Glendale from the BRT. Because our council says, oh, it's a done deal. I completely disagree. Nothing can get built in Glendale without permits.
Yes.
Nothing. And if LA Metro wants to build a bus lane, we have to grant them the permits. I will not vote to grant them those permits. Now, SB 79, if the bus lane goes in, a developer can put an application in for permits for a 4 to 9 story apartment tower, and it will get ministerial approval, meaning rubber stamped, because of SB 79, because by virtue of the fact that it's within half a mile of the BRT. And you can, even if that, despite your opposition and without your consent, that can get approved, and they are salivating. That monstrosity on the corner of Pacific and 134, that was actually approved, not because of SB 79, but they got increased density because it was located within half a mile of the BRT. Even though the BRT is not yet built, it's proposed on a map, they still approved permits for it. So look at the, when I saw that, I fell out of my chair. This was back in 2020, before any of us ever even knew this, right? They got that approval for the increased density because it was within half a mile of the proposed BRT. We need to move that out of there.
What building was that again?
It's that, when you're driving down 134 freeway, and on the Pacific, there's that, right next to the freeway. Yeah, Pioneer, yes. Pacific and Pioneer. So it's very interesting. I think so roughly about 250-ish apartment buildings. Only 15% of them are 2 bedrooms. Okay? How are you going to raise a family in a studio or 1 bedroom? My parents came to Glendale in November of 1978. My father left the old country, never went back. He was in Glendale for good. They raised their family. My father's 3 brothers came to Glendale, raised their families. One of his 2 sisters came to Glendale, raised her family. Okay? Glendale is a bedroom community for families. So when we have 85% of our housing studios and 1 bedrooms, who are we attracting? Who are we bringing in? And it's not like, oh, unsavory characters. No, I'm saying even if you bring in single people who want to find somebody and get married, sure, 2 adults in a 1 bedroom, you can make it happen. You have a kid, you are out of there, right? And then they say, okay, you must be at 40% of the median income level. Okay, great, you're a young person, you got this apartment. You want to start a family, so you're going to get a promotion at work. You are suddenly earning too much money to live in that apartment. You have to move out. We are not building quality units that people want. We are building units for the sake of unit quotas and also at the behest and obscene profits of the developers. Okay, so that's why I think I don't want to rely on a lawsuit that's going to get clogged in the system for months and months and years. I want actionable items, so as soon as I get elected, I will agendize to withdraw Glendale from the BRT.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's no setbacks.
Say again?
The apartment you just mentioned on Pacific.
I'm Pioneer, yes.
No
No
setbacks.
setbacks, correct. Yeah. I mean, that's actually, Susan was saying, so no setbacks, meaning that from the curb, right, it's just a concrete jungle. You start right there. And Susan brought up a great point. She says, all these people, the YIMBYs, yes, in my backyard, who want all this dense housing, they also like trees. What do you not see on Central Avenue when you're going down? Trees, right? And it's,
Just speaking as an advocate for the environment, which I am an actual environmental advocate.
We all are.
Right, I mean, where are you gonna have the nature, where is our biodiversity gonna be? If we make a concrete jungle, where are the bees gonna go? Where are the birds gonna forage? It sounds dumb, but one of the biggest problems we have, one of the reasons we have a crisis with bees and other creatures is habitat destruction by human beings, not limiting what we do.
We're, I would say, about halfway through our town hall. How's everybody doing so far? Good. Raise your hand if you're asleep. So we've been talking a lot about congestion. I also just want to bring up, again, so the 4 C's were cost of living, congestion, crime, and communication, what I like to call is corruption. Okay, we've talked a lot about congestion. Cost of living, right? Raise your hand if you like what you're paying on your electricity bill. Okay, raise your hand if you would like to turn back the clock to what your electricity bills were back in 2023.
Yeah.
Okay. There is a very real way that we can do that. And the succinct explanation is we are going to move away from our fleet electrification, our failed experiments at alternative power sources that were promised to us to be cheaper and more efficient, but have been anything but. Okay? So what I will do is, and this is based on clear data from the Glendale Water and Power. So we are redoing. So let's back up. Why are you paying so much for your electricity? Glendale's power plant was very old, needed to be refurbished. Nobody is arguing about that. Needed to be redone, okay, because there's inefficiencies. So we were going to replace with 5 gas generators that were going to give us about over 250 megawatts of power, which was enough for us, plus excess that we could sell to neighboring cities and make money off of them. And the loan that we were going to get, the $500 million loan that we were going to get to replace those 5 engines, the terms were, how are you going to pay the interest on this? Now, what you should know about the Glendale budget is that the electric company, Glendale Water and Power, has to operate in a silo. Whatever they pay out, it has to come from their own electricity bills. They can't, for example, get money from parking tickets, from property taxes. No, they have to do their own budget themselves. So they said, okay, we're going to get the $500 million loan to build 5 new engines, natural gas, clean natural gas engines, make so much power that we could power Glendale and then sell an excess amount of energy to neighboring cities. And that, my friends, would pay for the interest on the loans without ever having to raise people's electricity rates. That was the plan in 2017. Awesome. Enter Dan Brotman. Okay? Enter Dan Brotman and the Grayson saga. And he killed that idea with the help of Laura Friedman. Made very big promises and said, not only will I bring clean energy, so they personally brokered a deal between the government and energy advocates. He says, not only will we lower electricity rates, we will save the city $175 million. Now, in fact, the opposite has happened. So there's been an increase of about $50 million in the budget, in the cost of replacing these. And we are producing far less power than our prior plan. So that prior plan of generating enough power for us, and then the excess selling it to neighboring cities and paying the interest on the loan that way? No. So then the loan officer said, well, then where are you going to get the money to pay for the interest if you're not going to make enough excess energy to sell to other people? Dan Brotman said, we'll make the people pay for it. And that is why our electricity rates have risen by 7%. Plain and simple. Okay? So what can we do to make things better? The power plant will be completed in July of this year. We'll get an operation certificate of operation. Glendale has an allotment of, I'll say, gases, greenhouse gases that it can make. So you know how you get one garbage bin at your house, and you have to fill that garbage bin. You can't fill more than that, like control your own garbage production, right? So we have a certain amount of waste that we can produce from our engines, okay? And they said, you guys have 5 engines, operate them at 14% capacity. That is your capacity right there. So you at daily, operate at 14% capacity. Don't go anything over that unless you absolutely need to. Great. Then when they brought it from 5 engines down to 3, 14% of 5 engines should be 24% of 3 engines. They didn't change that percentage. So the 3 engines that are running, they're only going to operate at 14% capacity. On day 1, we can apply to increase that to 24% capacity, which will generate more electricity, excess electricity that we can sell to neighboring cities. and start buying down your electricity rates so that neighboring cities are paying for the interest, not you.
I got a bridge I'll sell you if you think your rate's ever going down.
No, I'm gonna lower rates. That is the one thing that I'm running on. That is the one thing that I'm running on.
Okay.
Okay, I know where you live. You wanna bet your house on
I also know where you live.
it? You do.
And I have a mortar on my back porch.
So yes, no, your electricity, so give me a majority on city council, get me 3 of those 5 seats. Get me 3 of those 5 seats, and I will lower your electricity rates within a year. Yes. You got something to say, Chris, now?
I don't know, I'll just say what I was thinking.
Yeah.
When you said that Dan Brockman had the authority to make the people, the citizens pay, I mean, we didn't vote on that. I don't even recall anything being mentioned about that.
Mhm.
And then I slowly saw, like everybody else, that over a certain amount of years, we're gonna have to pay a certain percentage, keeps going higher and higher and higher. But really, is that the responsibility of the residents of Glendale? Why didn't they take that out of the taxes or the revenue that they're supposed to be bringing in?
So, excellent question. So, remember I talked about the 4 C's. So there was costs, congestion, crime, and communication. Communication as far as letting people know what's coming down the pipeline. Communication as far as transparency. Hey, the Glendale Civic Auditorium needs somebody to manage it and refurbish it. We want to have this transparent process versus, I got a political donor who can do that. Let me just have a closed door meeting and give that contract to him, right? So as far as communication, I have an Instagram page. I have about 11,000 followers. There was the mobility element that they were proposing about putting bike lanes, 90 miles of bike lanes everywhere. And then when they were presenting it in city council, raise your hand if you regularly watch city council meetings, at least twice a month. Right, okay. So even in here, people who are engaged, you have a minority of people who do that. So things are happening that are just passing under our noses. So then they said, what kind of outreach have you done? So in the 2 months that we've done this, they said we've received 8 responses. 8. And then there was about, I don't know, maybe a month left. I was like, okay, let me put out a post on Instagram and tell people to respond. And I was CC'd on every single one of those emails. 67 emails went. I'm a private citizen, right? I'm just doing this on my own time, I'm volunteering. So how could I get 67 people suddenly to get engaged, look at something and write an email to them? I mean, something as simple as that billboard, that light billboard on Mountain and Verdugo, right? The Glendale College billboard. How many people are waiting at that intersection at any given time, right? And if you say electricity rates rising 50%, come to city council meeting next week, right? Something as simple as that. Why don't we do it? I'm very frequently going down Pacific, across Glen Oaks, down to the freeway. It used to be a hardware store. Now it's a physical therapy place. They have this marquee right there, right? I would pay that person $250 a month. Let me just put an announcement on there once a month, right? There's so many people walking by that. You can put something as simple as like a flashing sign. So outreach has been terrible, but I think that is intentional.
No, it's not.
Because the fewer people that are watching, the fewer noses it has to go under. So I think that's what it is. Yes, Ruby.
So I know a lot about.
Did they let you talk at school yesterday?
Just talking about everybody, and I'm going to run this myself, okay? Green technology is not green. Your solar panel has a life expectancy. Once that life expectancy expires, guess where it's dumped? It's dumped in the ground, horizontal. The state hired a company. They only take 2 materials that will solar panel. The rest is dumped. Last year, the field of solar panel in Texas, hail came down, all those solar panels got cracked, and the water, the underground water, the paper got polluted. The only thing that's green, if you want to talk about green, is the wind power. But the wind power kills 1.5 million birds in this country. There's a documentary on National Geographic, you can watch it. So when people tell you it's green technology, it is baloney. You should have a choice if you want to have a thing, but don't force electrification when it's not green. Okay? The batteries for Tesla, there's a life expectancy, it gets dumped. And there's a material that it takes, and I think Susan Wilson can back me up on this, the material that Elon Musk takes out of the ocean. And we don't know the long, to produce batteries, and we don't know the long-term effect of these, of the fish and the environment and so forth. So
I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of renewable energy, but it reminds me, the electrification of the city fleets. All of those Glendale Beeline buses that run on clean natural gas, they are buying $1 million buses and making them all electric buses for no reason. They spent $2 million on dump trucks. So it was 2 dump trucks and 2 pickup trucks. They spent $2 million to buy them. Why? Because that one bulldozer in Glendale, the diesel smoke that's coming out of that one bulldozer in Glendale, that's why the environment is bad, right? So they're paying $110,000 to buy, $110,000 per car to buy electric police cars, electric Tesla police cars, 50 cars in the police department. So multiply 110,000 times 50. They have perfectly functioning hybrid vehicles that go quickly. Okay, these cars, the fastest you can charge them is 4 hours. So what are we going to do for the thief is operating those 4 hours? Why am I saying this? Because the added infrastructure to support these charging vehicles is rolled into your electricity rates. So does anybody have an electric car? Raise your hand that you charge at home. No, okay. Do you think if you have an electric car charging at home, that would be expensive? Do you think if the city is charging electric buses and electric police cars and electric dump trucks, that electricity bill is going to be very expensive? Do you think the city is paying its own electricity bill? No, you are. You are. So I will kill this fleet electrification process. You will no longer have to compete with your own city for your own electricity, right? So if there's less demand from city vehicles, there's more supply for you, and what will that do to your electricity bills? It will lower them. So there are multiple different ways that we can tackle this problem.
There's no infrastructure in place to charge all those things.
They're building it. They're building it. So that is where a lot of this money is coming from, like where it's going to, rather. And so my whole thing is, I want to spend money on infrastructure. You know what I want to do? Those power lines that are along our street in the hills, I want to bury those power lines. I don't want to be Altadena.
The birds love it.
Well, the birds, there's a lot of right around my back. But what I'm saying is, we don't want to be Altadena. So all of these electric wires in these high fire areas, which is essentially 70% of Glendale, I want to, if we're going to spend money on anything, if you're going to pay high electricity bills, I want it to make us safer. And I want to bury those power lines so that you don't become Altadena, a big pile of ash. Yes, oh hell.
A little bit of change of subject matter, but
Sure.
I had to go over to Santa Monica Boulevard and Highland the other day.
How was that 3-hour trip?
Well, let me tell you, the roads,
Yeah.
nothing but potholes.
Yes.
Yeah.
One pothole after the other.
Yeah.
I was dodging potholes. Now, you know, every time you hit a pothole, what it does to your wheel line.
Or your fillings.
But,
I just.
okay, so then, later on, I was with the missus, and we stopped off at, we're on Los Feliz Boulevard. And we pulled off to the side of the road in residential neighborhood where it have $2 million homes. And you can't walk the sidewalks. They got cracks. Now, is Glendale going that way?
Yeah.
My question to you.
Yeah.
Because I know I take Glendale Boulevard, I look up in Reynolds Canyon, we're getting potholes, and no one's filling up the potholes. Is why we don't have the money.
Let me explain that, yes, that is correct. So they had a $34 million budget deficit. 34 or 37? $34 million deficit. So one thing that they did was to defer
There
maintenance
you go.
in a lot of things, okay? So deferring maintenance, that's upkeep on basic things. Not just deferring maintenance on streets, but again, deferring maintenance on the electric infrastructure. Okay, that is also deferred maintenance. We confirmed with GWP that they did deferred maintenance over there to kind of move things around with the budget. Again, deferred maintenance, heavy rains, 7,000 people without electricity on Christmas Eve. Cause and effects, right? So yes, there's a lot of unnecessary spending.
Let me just add something to that.
Sure.
Several years ago, Mrs. and I were walking in by Adventist Hospital. The missus did a trip and fall because the sidewalk was uneven.
Yeah.
Went before the city council and I said, hey, I don't want to sue the city. I just want you to pay the medical and fix the sidewalk. That they did. Shows you how we're I don't want to, you know.
My father used to say, it costs so much to be this cheap. That's what he said about
You know, we moved to Glendale, not to be Los Angeles.
Right.
And when someone compares us with LA, I said, you know what? I live in Glendale. I don't live in LA. I don't live in Burbank, Pasadena. I want my city to be the best city in the area.
I'm sorry,
It's okay.
I shouldn't take over, but
No, that's what this is, right? This is a community town hall. I'm just making sure that he doesn't hog all the,
the
Good luck.
road maintenance is supposed to be paid for with gas tax money. And one of the unintended consequences of electrifying vehicles is that they're collecting less tax on gas, and that is part of why there's so many potholes. And our city has not been very disciplined about using that method.
I think what our city does is this on now? It's not working?
No.
Oh, man, okay. What our city does, and I think there's also a reason why we are held hostage to something like the bus lanes. If you look, they say, oh, well, we didn't spend $2 million, $2 million of our money. This is a grant from the state of California. This is a grant from Measure A from LA County. A grant? Where do they get that money? They get it from our bank accounts. So I think the unspoken reason why Glendale has not stood up to LA Metro for the BRT bus route is because they've taken a lot of money from them to pay for a lot of different things, and I think they're on the hook. I think they're on the hook, they cannot. Yes?
Real quick, about the roads.
Yeah.
When they patch the road, the patches don't stay. There's a hole right away after the patch goes in. And some of them, on Foothill and New York, they had a hole. And they put a steel plate over it, which is temporary, I guess. It's still there. And that's been like 6 months. And other places, they put the patch on, and the patch ends up being a hole. So it's not fixed. I mean, if they're contracting this out, they're not getting their money's worth.
They're not contracting it out, and again, I am under no illusion, right? I'm not gonna put your taxes to zero. We need money to run a city, right? Things need to be maintained. But it stands to reason that our city budget, the overall city budget, went from 800 million to 1.2 billion on the watch of this current city council. Our city spending increased by 50%. Do you think our services increased by 50%? Do you feel like your quality of life increased by 50%? It did not. So why is it that we're paying 50% more, but we're still finding these things that are not getting done? Because we are not prioritizing things for the city. We're prioritizing things for our misguided incumbents and the people who put them in office. And I, for one, would like to put a stop to it. I need 3 seats. Okay, I need 3 seats. No, I need 3 seats, right? So, no incumbent candidates, right? He's not an incumbent. Beth is not an incumbent, okay? Yes, Patrick.
Is it working?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. So Susan just brought up the notion that funding for road repairs comes from the state. It's actually, she's right, it's SB1, we voted it in. And it was a gas tax. All of SB1's money for the city of Glendale for this fiscal year is going, $15 million is going to La Crescenta Avenue Rehabilitation Project.
All
All of it. So, and that's a vanity project with a bicycle lane, and beautification. And we all love beautification, but what's happening in other parts of the city is the money isn't being spent where it needs to be spent. That's the one point I wanted to make, so Susan, thank you for bringing that up. The other was communication. So I'm hearing about Los Angeles and communication. In our land use element, this draft land use element that's currently going through an environmental review, it's a 20-year plan. Land use element is part of the general plan. It's a 20-year plan. Within this plan, it calls for 96,000 new housing units in the city of Glendale, which will increase the population by 269,000 people, bringing our population, more than doubling it, up to 450,000. I did a little homework recently. The city of Los Angeles, coming back to that, has just under 4 million people and over 400 square miles of land mass. If we took Glendale's land mass, and that people per mile of those square miles, 460 square miles, it's a little over 8,000 people per mile. If we took our 450,000 plus in that land use element, we have 31 square miles. So again, LA is a little over 8,000 per mile. It would take our population per mile to 14,500 people. So we would actually be close to double what the Los Angeles density is today if that 20-year plan comes to fruition. We have to slow things down, folks. We have to make change. Thank you.
Sorry?
Can I just make a point?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
I live in South Glendale, and I used to be able to park my car in front of my place. Now I can't park it there. There's two people parked in one spot. Sometimes they park in front of your driveway. And I'm pretty disgusted. We're talking about growth here. Who says we need all that growth? Do we really need a lot of people coming here? Half of them we can't even speak English. If you don't know it, English is the official language of the state of California, put in place by Samuel Ishikawa Hayakawa about 1973. Of course, nobody reads the Constitution. Why would you do that? You might learn something. It's too much compared to watching a baseball game or something like that. I used to play, but I don't have time to watch other people play. It's incredible that we're just stacking chairs so tightly there's no place to sit anymore. And I don't know about you, but I'm really disgusted. I've never seen the traffic this heavy. You can't get where you're going, and people hit and run. And you go out, your car's out in a lot or in the street, people hit it, they don't even know it anymore, they're just gone. And I'm frankly quite tired of it. I don't know about any of you, but we need people, I think, to start thinking about conserving some of the land square footage per person. I don't know how to articulate that, but.
So I am sympathetic to your thoughts on there being too much congestion. Also, again, Laura Friedman, a former council member of Glendale, who then failed upwards towards Sacramento and then failed upwards yet again towards Washington. She authored the bill which passed, which says that if you are within half a mile of a bus stop and you build 20 apartment units, you are not obligated to build 20 parking spots. Because in their wisdom, they said, oh, if you live within half a mile of a bus stop, you'll just walk to take the bus.
Yeah.
And so that is why you have the cars now choking the streets, because in their vision of utopia, people just wouldn't buy cars. Mind you, we live up the street from Laura Friedman, and I watch her drive her car from her house, to watch her husband drive his car from the house.
Do they drive to the bus?
They don't drive to the bus. Yeah, they don't drive to the bus, and they don't. I don't see them on their bicycles.
SUV.
No, it's a Prius. But going back to that, one of the forces that we haven't talked about, crime. Okay, speeding drivers. That's the biggest concern for everybody here. Okay. You have 3 out of the 5 people on city council who have espoused defund the police, defund the police thoughts, okay? I say fund the police, double the police. Empower the police to give reckless driving tickets, which are $1,000.
Don't they have that now?
They don't ticket it because they are not empowered. They have it, but they don't ticket it. And so I think these yahoos who are driving 55 miles an hour on Glen Oaks shouldn't just be given a speeding ticket, they should be given a reckless driving.
Traffic at 55 miles an hour.
See what?
You're holding up traffic.
Traffic at 55 miles an hour. But so what you do is you empower the cops to write these tickets, and what you do is our city attorney is ineffective at best. Our city attorney doesn't do anything. He just kowtows to the city council. So I think you need to have a different city attorney who is actually going to empower the police to give reckless driving tickets, and then when it goes to court and they want to contest it, the city attorney says, no, this was reckless driving, $1,000 top. People will listen then. People will slow down if you hit more counts, which is their pocketbook. You had a question?
Came in late, what is your name?
Alex Balekian. Balekian. Dr. Alex. Yeah, votedralex.com. You can go there. And I just today activated my fundraising link. If anybody wants to pitch in, please do so. VoteDrAlex.com/ideas. Dr. Alex. Beth.
I don't think, somebody just sent me on a text, one of our opponents smiling wildly with people behind him smiling wildly about his run for council. They're smiling because they don't care about you. They don't care that your electric bills are higher. They're elitists who want bike lanes. I mean, this is the most tone-deaf thing I've ever heard. I don't think people realize this is a transformative election. If you think it's bad now, if we don't get 3 people in, it's going to be exponentially worse. Everything they're proposing will have carte blanche to do whatever they want. They will remove car lanes everywhere. It won't just be on one street. It'll be 20 streets. So this is a very, very critical election. I mean, I wasn't planning to run, and I decided to run because I thought, wow, this is a very dangerous time for the city.
Good for you.
We can they will be all over your neighborhood. All over your neighborhood. This is not a small thing. This is not a theoretical. This is not ideological. This is very, very practical. The entire city will be transformed if the right people are not put on this council. I just wanted to make that very serious point because when I saw the smiling, it really, really bothered me. They're smiling because it doesn't affect, they don't care. They care about ideology. If you worship ideology, you don't live in reality. You don't live, if you're voting for something that's hurting people's pocketbooks and that's destroying your neighborhood, you can't pretend to care about anybody. You don't care about anybody.
Can you tell us who they?
They are Dan Brotman, Ellen Asatrian, and Alec Bartrasov, and I'm saying the smiling one, who's presenting himself as some sort of a centrist, the happy warrior, is going to destroy you almost even worse than Dan Brotman. Because we all know who Dan Brotman is now. We don't know who he is. He's presenting himself like he's all for community. This is not a person for community. This is a guy who wants to destroy this city in his own image of what he believes the city should be like. So, Alec Bartrasov, I am telling you, this is even worse than Brotman, because Brotman, it's easy to fight somebody who is very clear about who they are. I'm an ideologue and I don't care about you. I don't care, but when somebody pretends to care about you, they're going to hurt you even worse because you will be fooled. Don't be fooled. This is a very important election.
She's on the spot.
because the ones that Anna area is promoting and sponsoring is the one, because if she cannot be there, she needs to have someone like her. And if we are happy with her, so we will choose the one that she is promoting. The same with Dan Brotman. She is correct. The one that Dan Brotman is backing up is worse than him. And I heard from a very good source
What's his name?
that his name is Alex. So these two people that are running right now, they have good money. I have to tell you this, because Friedman is backing them up, and they are bringing all the money they have, and they are very well organized, but they are very dangerous people for us, for our city, for our safety, for our kids, for our everything that we value in Glendale. So make sure you know, spread the word. Word of mouth is very, very important. Spread the word about these two people. I know that they are started already, they are making money, and they are pretending, as Fred said, smiling, and that smiling is more dangerous than when they are not smiling. So just be careful of these two people.
So I'm just gonna take issue with your word choice. I agree with your sentiments, but I personally will avoid using words like dangerous, okay? I don't know them.
I can say it, but you can't.
So this is very real because I wouldn't call Alec Barchersoff dangerous. I don't know him, okay? I don't care to know him. I just know that his ideas are bad for the city. I know that Dave Brunman, I don't know if he's dangerous or not. I know that his ideas have run this city into the ground. I know that Ellen Asatre, her votes, about 85% concordance with Dan Brunman. Well, what she says is one thing, I'm for small businesses, I'm for the little person. Her actions, her votes have spoken differently. The reason I want to say this is, there's a very real, so their side has wasted no time or resources calling me an extremist. Okay? I'm being called an extremist. Beth is being called an extremist. Tony Pastorell is an extremist. Patrick is an extremist, right? They attacked Patrick's wife. So I want our side to avoid using those words and just saying they have terrible ideas. I don't care what kind of people they are. I don't know what kind of people they are. They have terrible ideas. This is not a way to govern the city. So I would like us to avoid using words like dangerous, okay? I would prefer to say they will make our lives more inconvenient than they are. They will make our lives more costly than they are. They will not make things more efficient for us. In fact, it will be the exact opposite. But I want to avoid falling into the trap that they're using because it dehumanizes people. And sometimes I am applying for a concealed carry permit. I want to protect myself. I don't want some yahoo who thinks I'm an extremist because they call me dangerous, right? So I would like to avoid that kind of words, okay? Perfect. Yes, Susan. Let me take it back.
First of all, let's look at our three candidates right now, and let's get their names down. Alex Balekian, Doctor, Beth Brooks, Patrick Murphy. Wonderful list of candidates, successful in their private lives, and are choosing to step away from their private lives to enter public service. That is very, very commendable, especially with what Alex was just talking about. It's not an easy game, because it's not a game. Look at Locker Center right now. Look at the Locker Center Avenue project. Whoever drove through there to come here, look how many lights they added. They're adding it for safety. They're adding it so kids can cross the street. They're adding it to decrease congestion, but decrease speeding. We didn't have that before. What did we have before? Police officers. Bikes mounted on the sidewalk, speeding tickets, impoundments, what else? You get in a really bad car accident on Glen Oaks, they mount your car on Glen Oaks, so all the kids can see what would happen to you. Now what do you see in Glendale? Everyone's running amok. It's almost lawlessness on the streets. And the police, as you said, they have the laws in the books. But when you don't have the municipality backing you, you're afraid of losing your job. You know, they're like everyone else. We all have a living to do, even in the police. Jeopardize that? Why would they? It's natural to want to protect yourself. On top of that, look when Dan, Ellen, Artie, well, Artie's been there forever, but look when they got on the council. Have your lives gotten better? Have they gotten worse? You have more money in your pockets, but you have less. You feel safe in certain parts of downtown Glendale you live in. You go out to dinner at 8 o'clock and walk to your car through the alleys at 10 o'clock. Or now you go out at earlier times when the sun is out and get to your car at 8 o'clock. Has the decisions of this city council affected you in a way that is negative and to change your lifestyle because of that negativity, or has it been positive? We all can see the answer. Clear as it. Glendale is not safer. The city is not safer because of the incompetence, whether complicit or just ignorant incompetence of this current city council. So let's do something about it. Let's put some confidence back on that dais and let's fix the city.
I just wanted to say, and I know I'm not in the right zone to say this, but I consider it to be unjust to spend all of the gas tax money on one street. You know, these people are living in South Glendale, and I don't think that's right.
But also, I mean, this is not the first time that La Crescenta Avenue has been fixed. I think it was probably, I would say, 12 years ago when it was done. So it was in need of rehabilitation. That is because it is a major artery that carries lots of cars, lots of trucks, because it has a freeway off-ramp. So whose bright idea was it to reduce the number of lanes and put bike lanes over there? There was a lady over here who lived there. She says, I'm excited that my kids can now ride a bicycle. Lady, why are you putting your children in harm's way on that dead man's curb? Why would you volunteer your child as tributes on the altar of these psychopaths? So again, it should tell us something, right? La Crescenta Avenue was redone 12 years ago. That is a high volume road, trucks, cars. That is no place for bicycle lane, no place for children to be riding their bikes.
And the risk with that, when they reduce it down to one lane in each direction, the risk to Spar Heights is going to be significant given cut-through traffic.
There's going to be cut-through.
When they did the North Brand Boulevard demonstration project, and they did the 2 bike lanes, and they removed the lane in each direction, the cut-through traffic on the side streets was monitored, and it increased significantly. So people are gonna race through Spar Heights.
They never did a count of the number of bicycles that went up and down on that freeway. That's one too many.
I just want to say quickly.
They never do.
On top of what just was said, the Oakland Country Club on the left side, if tomorrow we have a fire, there will be one lane on each side. Just imagine what would happen. And the fire department was against that on La Crescenta also, and they ignored it. They even said it's going to be beautiful.
You said 4 bicyclists, La Crescenta's daily congestion, cars, 12,000 each way. That's what we see.
I made a number up to 4.
It was too many. It was too many.
Well, they can go right here.
No, I just wanted to get on record, I don't think I don't think people are, well, there are some people who are dangerous, but I'm not saying that their policies, obviously. I want to get it on record, I am not saying Alec is dangerous at all. You know, that's just a shorthand way of saying that their policies are dangerous, not him. He actually was very kind and let me know about somebody who he felt, you know, I mean, so I'm not saying anything like that, so I just want to get it on record that it's just policies are dangerous, and if you vote in that person, you're voting in their policies. I mean, it could be anybody, it could be a cardboard cutout, you're still voting in, you know, those policies, but I wanted to get that on record, I'm not saying.
Does anyone know where Alec came from? He's just showing, I know he's on lots of commission.
Yeah, does anyone know about
commissions.
So Alec Workshop grew up in Glendale. I think he went to Glendale High School, maybe Park Magnet High School. He is a transportation planner, and he was for Los Angeles, and he was in the Mar Vista district where the Venice Boulevard bicycle lane is a disastrous bicycle lane, so he was part of that. Where
Was
they
he part
put
of
it
the
in.
brand? Was he part of the brand decision also?
Yes, absolutely. So here's, I told Susan this. So I was looking to see if there were any news articles about him going on record about bicycle lanes. And the law percent of bicycle lanes, sure enough, he said, I support this, and I'm sorry to see that it's not passing, but we remain firm in our support of it. That was 2011, when the initial bicycle lanes were voted down, even by Laura Friedman. So he has been nothing but consistent in his support of bicycle lanes. And unfortunately, the majority of people, the overwhelming majority of people, rely on cars for their throughput and to go to work. But one thing that I was going to tell people is City Council has 5 seats. Right now, it is a 3-2 balance, 3 being people who have voted or shown interest in upzoning, making single-family neighborhoods denser, having multifamily homes in them. Those 3 people are Artie Kasakian, who is not up for re-election, Ellen Asatrian, who is up for re-election, and Dan Rotman, who is up for re-election. Okay, so we have 3 people who have shown interest in upzoning single-family neighborhoods. The 2 people who are against it, one of them is Arne Najarian, who is not running, so his seat is open. So, if Ellen and Dan Rotman get re-elected, and that open seat of Arne Najarian gets filled by Alec Barchersoff, you have 4 people who will vote to upzone single-family neighborhoods.
And
So-
it takes 4 votes.
It takes 4 votes.
Oh.
It takes 4 votes out of 5, thank you for that clarification, to upzone a neighborhood. Okay, to change the zoning. So that will be a disastrous 2 years where there's a 4-person majority, okay? So if nothing else, so this is where we have 8 minutes left, we could be here until 4 o'clock, but 90 minutes is where it is. We really need to bring out our army. It needs to be multiplicative, okay? So in this election, there will be only about 35% participation at best. So for every 1 person who votes, there will be 2 people who don't vote. It takes 12,000 votes for sure to get elected. 12,000. Can you imagine 12,000 people in a city of 200,000 determining what's going to happen? Right? So why? Because people don't show up. So what I would like you all to do, I want you to open up your Rolodex, your cell, your phone. I want you to go through your contacts. Family, close friends, distant friends. I want you to make a list. Family, close friends, distant friends who live in Glendale. I need you to find at least 20 people. I need you to call those people and say, this is important, I need you to vote for Alex. Okay? Family, close friends, distant friends. Go through your Rolodex, because if we get 1,000 people, each to have 20 people, that's 20,000 votes. That's well over what you would need, okay? 12,000 votes wins it in the end, okay? So, but what I need you to do is go through your Rolodex, just make a list of people who live in Glendale. Family, close friends, distant friends. Go in that order and make sure that they vote. Because, again, if 2 out of 3 people are sitting this one out, it's like the minority that's controlling everything and making decisions for all of us.
Do you have like a cheat sheet that we can all like get a hold of? Because I find it very easy to, once I have something cut and pasted, send it to all my friends and, if you want us to make a list.
Yes.
It's on the phone, we're gonna send it. And
Yes.
it's there where they're gonna look when they're voting. I want the people that we want out and the people that we want in.
Yes.
So, and short reasons why.
Yes, so that's correct. And so there will be slates coming. So right now we're a little bit under 5 months out. All that's gonna kick in about, starting, I would say, March, April, May.
They're not paper, it's all on phone.
So what I'd like you to do, that's why I had the sign-in sheets outside, okay? I would like your all's emails. I'm not gonna spam you, I'm going to give you reminders and say, please make sure to check your registration is active. This is the first day of voting. This is who I recommend you vote for.
Face and name.
Yes, face and name. So this is why I asked, please, before you leave, sign up, because that is how I'm going to keep you updated. And say, because for example, it's not just city council. So city clerk is up for election. I don't want you to re-elect the current city clerk. I would rather you vote for the person who's running against the current city clerk. And once that person manifests him or herself, I will let you know that I'm supporting that person. Okay? So yeah, that is why you need to please sign up so I can give you updates and you can take it. All right? Yes, sir.
So, and this is kind of focused toward all the candidates. I think your point was, let's say I'm walking the dog.
Yep.
And I say, hey, talk to somebody and say, hey, get out and vote. If there was something I could pull up on my phone.
Yep.
That showed electric rates, high rises, parking lots. It would be really great to have that. That would be like a vehicle that, would be very useful, because to remember to talk about it is difficult. Once we go, okay, there's these three candidates.
Yep.
And are you upset about your electric rates? We're gonna go, yeah. I can pull that up and there's,
Yeah, so
it summarizes all the issues.
of course. So if this is a fantastic opportunity for you to fire up your phones and go to votedralex.com, and on the menu, you'll see issues. Issues being congestion, cost of living, crime, corruption, okay? And then those will be there. And then I brought the receipts. I have videos on there. So that is me. And then when it kind of gets closer and we kind of get our slate, then all of the recommendations will be up there. But that's why I asked you please to sign up so that I can send regular, not excessive updates, but just to keep people, we will ramp it up towards the end of March, because if you tell people now, they'll forget about it. And we don't want them to develop fatigue yet.
Alex.
Yes.
We're spelling out doctor.
Yes, and so when you go vote Dr. Alex, it's Dr. D-O-C-T-O-R, Dr. Alex. Vote dralex.com. Doctor is spelled out, D-O-C-T-O-R. VoteDrAlex.com.
So you don't want us to use the word dangerous, but you're sure anybody's better than the present city clerk.
So the city clerks. So let me tell you my views.
You haven't figured out who it is yet, but it's going to be better than who's there.
Correct. It's going to be better than who's. I'm not going to out the person that I'm thinking of until this person actually.
Okay.
This person actually declares. Okay. But yeah, our city clerk she's an activist, injects her politics in the meetings, and the city clerk should be somebody who is neutral, right? It's somebody, not an arbiter, but a reporter who has all the information and is a resource. That person should not be playing favorites. That person should equally document pros and cons.
Right.
And yeah, we were talking about this, but there are different things that I think for example, anytime I write a grant application, okay, there's the scientific part, and then I have to write a succinct 100-word paragraph in layperson's terms. Because if I'm applying for NIH grants, and these are public tax dollars, an individual layperson should be able to know what their tax dollars are funding.
Yeah.
And that's part of the communication or the miscommunication of our city council is a lot of times you read, and I mean, is Andre here? Yeah, one of our commissioners, he was on the Transportation Commission. He said, this isn't even in plain English, right? We need summaries that are accessible to the average person, that are comprehended by the average person, that then invites participation. So I think that is the city clerk's job, and rather than starting a meeting with an invocation that we are standing on stolen lands or wherever it is, why don't you synthesize what went on in basic words for the layperson to understand? And that's what I think the city clerk should be doing. So we are at the 90-minute mark. I'm officially gonna wrap this up, but please feel free to talk amongst yourselves, unless anybody has any specific questions they want to ask. Yes, Mr. Modell?
I'd like to make a statement.
Oh, really?
Mr. Modell has a statement.
You gotta be kidding.
You know, this is politics, this is truth, okay? President Trump has encouraged all these companies to build factories, et cetera, in the United States. Which state do you think they're not gonna build any factories? California. Why? Because we are highest in taxes and fees.
Understand, that is,
And that way,
that is-
that's why people will not be moving to Glendale.
no,
There's no jobs.
this is a local, no, hang on, Modell. So, this is important, Modell, this is important, please listen to me. This is a local election.
Of course.
There are local issues. We do not talk about things that aren't local issues. Why? Because the current incumbents will fail if they have to focus on the issues. So what will they be focusing on? They will be focused on distraction tactics. They want to bring in Trump. They want to bring in Newsom, okay? They are not here on the playing field, right? So they will do everything in their power to distract from their failures on electricity rates, on their failures of congestion and high-density housing where it shouldn't go, their failures of not keeping up our neighborhoods. So please don't give them any ammunition to distract. We focus on the topics, understood?
This is a friendly group.
I understand, but again, we focus on the topics. Yeah.
I've got something to say. We have free yard signs available, okay? One is designed for people who live within half a mile of Glen Oaks. The other one is for the rest of Glendale. So I think that's a good way to bring attention to our cause.
So yes, feel free to get those. So again, I am Dr. Alex Balekian, but call me Dr. Alex, that's what my patients call me, okay? Our election is on June 2nd, 2026 for Glendale City Council. Ballots will be mailed to you 1 month in advance on May 1st. So please spread the word. Again, go to votedralex.com. It's spelled out, votedralex.com. All of my stance on my issues will be there. I will put forth the names of other candidates that I would like you to support, not only in this race, but other races that are ongoing locally in the city. And I would please ask you to put your email over there so that I know how to contact you. Again, it's not going to be excessive. This is a reminder, we need to bring out our army at the exact moment so that we can actually keep our lives livable.
Is mailing safe?
Is mailing safe?
Yeah.
I always mail it. I've always voted with an absentee ballot. And the reason I like it is because you can actually track it via US Postal Service. There's something called ballot tracks. So I've always, since I registered on these, I've always voted absentee. Yes?
For donations,
Yes.
are we able to donate on the website? Is that up yet?
Yeah, so by close of business today, we'll be on the website. So yes, donations are great because, again, reserving this room, having this runs about anywhere between $500 to $700 a pop. Okay, sending a mailer. They're sending a mailer out to people who aren't engaged in coming here and letting them know I'm Dr. Alex, vote for me. Those are going to be several thousands of dollars. So this is going to be very grassroots. So if you want the word to spread, please help the resources. And I can actually put on the website, like you in Wheel of Fortune, you say, I want the ceramic dog for $250, like when they used to buy that. To say this is what mailers are going to cost. Please help chip in to spread the word and to pay it forward. Okay? Yes.
Is today's meeting right now recorded, and are you going to put a link on your website or somewhere where other people can view it?
Excellent. Yes, everybody wave to the camera over there. So yes, this has been recorded on the live stream. And yes, we will put it for other people to see, yes, on the website. But again, before you leave, please remember to put your name and email up there so I can keep you posted, okay? Yes,
Before May 1st, will there be anything from you or Patrick that will let people know more about you, like door handlers or mailers, or even things? Because we are here, we can spread the word, but we need
Yes.
other people to know about.
So again, things cost money, right? So right now, I've not really started fundraising extensively. Everything is coming out of my pocket, which is why I've got the side job now, okay, temporarily. So I'm working extra shifts. But yeah, this takes money. Sending mailers, it's like 80 cents per mailer. okay, to print it and to send this.
What's
So,
the point to do?
so just think of that, though, right? So 40,000 people are gonna vote at this election. And I need something to mail around to everybody. Multiply that 80 cents, that's $32,000 for one mailer. How many times do you need to be reminded to do something?
I throw it all away.
Okay, right, so some people throw it all away.
I
but
throw it all away, I don't know who's.
Yeah, so again, they're,
Somebody, I do it, but not.
Yeah. So you can't tell them who's gonna throw what away, so you have to send it to everybody, so it's just the nature of the game. So thank everybody for coming, I really appreciate it.
I think I came to my house and you